Remember the last time you moved and you filled out a change of address form so that your mail would be forwarded to your new location? The web has something like that also. They are called URL redirects. A redirect is needed when your links change. Maybe you moved your site, the structure of your site changed, or you renamed your post titles to better fit your content. No matter the reason, when you change the URL, you can end up with broken links. This destroys your SEO and all of your backlinks, social shares, links and email campaigns, and all the rest no longer work. Rather than start over building your SEO ranking from scratch, you can use redirects to tell search engines and visitors' browsers how to find the content they're looking for. People often talk about the importance of 301 redirects in terms of preserving SEO, but I think they are just as important for ensuring a good customer experience. Nothing gives the worst impression than a dead link. 301 Redirects Pro is a WordPress plugin for managing URL redirects. In this video, I'm going to do a walkthrough and review so that you can see how it works and decide if you want to use it on your site. I was given access to 301 Redirects Pro to try and installed it on webtng.com. I don't usually test out plugins on a live site, but I've been a happy user of other plugins from the Web Factory developers, and so was confident giving it a real-world test. There's a free version of URL redirects available in the WordPress plugin directory. As you can see, it's got more than 100,000 active installs and more than 230 5-star reviews. I installed the free version on a test site just to do a quick look at the user interface. You can see it's very bare bones. What you have here is the option to choose the redirect type. You put in the URL slug, and then you choose where you're going to redirect it to. That can be a page on your own site or to some other site. And one nice feature is it gives you a drop-down where you can choose the page you want to redirect to. And that's pretty much it for the plugin. There is a tab here for 401 error logs, but that's shown as something that's coming soon. You can import and export your rules, and there's a link here for support options. Pretty bare bones, but obviously with more than 100,000 active installs, it just works. So I've deactivated the free version and installed and activated the Pro version. And when you first install it, you're given a prompt to go to the Settings 301 Redirect page. That is here. The first thing it asks you to do is to enter your license and activate it. I'll pause the video and do that. As soon as you activate the license, you're taken into a setup wizard. On the first screen, you can see that the plugin does a number of checks. It checks to see that you have the correct PHP version, that the tables for the logs have been created, and that permalinks are enabled. On the second page of the wizard, there's a place where you can turn on auto redirect 404s. This is an interesting feature. Basically what happens is if someone comes to your site with a URL that's just a little bit off, the plugin will try to guess the correct page. I'm going to just turn that on. And then there's a feature here to choose what page will show to the visitor when there's a 404 error. 404 means page not found, and some themes have a 404 page, and other times you might have to create your own PHP template. In that case, they give you an option to create a page here and set that in the drop-down for the 404 errors to show. Then you come to a screen for logging, and you can have the option to have reports emailed to you, and you can set the number of days that you'd like to keep the logs. I think I'll go for 30 days. And you do this for the 404 logs as well as the redirect logs. Again, I'll go for 30 days. And then here's an option to upload logs to your 301 Redirects dashboard. This is an online dashboard, which is a feature of some of the multiple site packages that are available. And we'll look at the online dashboard further on in the video. I'll turn this on. But if you don't turn it on, then when you're on the dashboard, you won't be able to upload the logs. and then we get a completed message. When we go into the screens for the plugin, first thing we see is that there are some rules from the free version that we can import if we like. So that's nice. When you upgrade from the free version to the pro version, you can migrate your redirect rules over. So let's take a look here at the interface. In the top here we see the number of redirects in the last 24 hours, the number since the plugin was installed, and the number of 404 page not found errors in the last 24 hours. On the first tab here is where you would create your new rules and manage the rules that you've created. The second tab is where you'll see the redirect logs. Third tab is for the 404 logs, and then there's settings tabs. A lot of these are the settings that you chose when you went through the setup wizard, but on this screen you can make changes if you want to. On the advanced tab there's a place to disable redirects, disable for logged in users, which might be something you would want to do during development. And here's an option to remove all of the tables that are created by the plugin if you decide to delete the plugin. So that's a nice feature. You don't leave those tables behind. And this is an option to recreate the tables should you need to. Then there on the Tools sub-tab, there's the option to import or export a redirects file. This link takes you to support documentation for the plugin, and this one is where you enter the license keys. Okay, now I want to move from the test site over to the webtng.com website. And I installed 301 Redirects Pro on the WebTNG website a little over a day ago so that I could start to accumulate some log activity. But before we look at the redirect and 404 logs, I want to look at creating redirect rules. This is actually kind of the heart of the program after all, so let's see what the process looks like. When you click to create a new rule, you get a pop-up window here. You can disable or enable the rule, and then you set the redirect from value, say how you want to handle query parameters, and then the redirect to value and the redirect type. Let's walk through that. So I'm going to add a redirect from. Originally, when I set up the documentation for the YadoWiki plugin, I had the URL be site wiki, and then I changed that to wiki plugin overview. Okay, so I have this redirect that I want to add. And for query parameters, those would be the variables that go after the URL. And you have the option to ignore them, to say that you have to have exact matches, but they can be in any order, to ignore URL parameters but pass them through, or to ignore all parameters except UTM variables, which are often associated with your Google Analytics. So in this case, I know that there are no URL parameters. This is where, if you wanted to, you could enable a regular expression in the redirect from field. For most web servers, the matching is going to be case insensitive, but there may be some cases where the web server is going to match in a case sensitive fashion. So you could disable this if you knew that your web server required that. And then this is an interesting area here. You can choose which type of redirect you want. So 301 redirect is the most common. This is permanent, which means that the URL has changed permanently. And then a 302 and a 307 are temporary redirects. You would use a temporary redirect if you were, for example, doing maintenance on your site and you knew that the URL structure would be restored. This 302 redirect allows you to switch from HTTPS to HTTP to change that, and it's largely been superseded by 307, which does not allow that because these days most sites are HTTPS and you wouldn't do that kind of protocol switch. So 301 and 307 are the most common redirects. 303 is usually used by programmers when passing data, so we probably wouldn't use that normally. And 304, we probably wouldn't use that also ourselves. It usually means that the cached value hasn't been changed. And then there's a 308 redirect, which is a little more strict than a 301 redirect. Old browsers may not support it, and I think that still people would prefer to use a 301 redirect over a 308 redirect. And finally, there's a redirect type called cloaking. And this is not part of the internet standard. This is a feature of the plugin. And so we'll look at that in a minute. But let's go back here. So I have redirect from site, wiki, ignore all parameters to wiki-plugin overview, case insensitive. It's going to be a permanent redirect. And then you have this option here where you can set a position number. And sometimes you might have redirects and you want the rules to apply in a certain order. And so in those cases, you can use this position number and the lower number goes first. And then finally, there's a place for tags. And this is just for your benefit. If you have different categories of URL redirects and you want to tag them to make them easier to find or give yourself a note. One thing I want to point out is that on the sidebar here, there are some instructions and help information, and this is very useful. However, I'm not a big fan of the light gray text on a white background. I think that makes it a little hard to read. And also, there could be more information, or there could be tooltips or links out to help documents for each of the topics. Help documents exist, and this would be a nice place to have links in case people have questions or need help. So when you click Add Rule, it adds the rule here, tells you there are no hits. There's the option here to edit, which takes us back into that screen. An option here to verify the redirect and then to delete it. So since it's new, it's always a good idea to verify and test your redirects. So I'm going to click the Verify button. And it says that it tested okay. And you can see that it's using a third-party website in the testing, which tries the original URL and then sees if it's been redirected to the new URL. Okay, so that's our creation process. Let's do one more on this screen because I want to look at this cloaking because that's the only one that's kind of a unique feature of the plugin. So let's look at how that works. So I'm going to put in here go/Divi. We'll assume this being kind of a pretend affiliate link. And then I would redirect to, case insensitive, and it's cloaking. So I'm going to add that rule. And then I'm going to open an incognito window. And we'll try out this URL go/Divi. And you can see that it went to the Elegant Themes Divi page. So that part worked. An interesting feature here, though, is that the URL is still cloaked in the browser. So in the address bar, it still shows the WebTNG website URL. So that's interesting how that works, and that might be useful for some people. Okay, let's refresh this, and we see here's our hit. Okay, so that's kind of the creating rules. Let's take a look at the logs, the redirect logs. So here it shows the countries, the browsers, devices. So I'm guessing this is desktop, yep. And then 60% were from people, 37% from a Googlebot, and 2+% from this spider. And let's look at the redirects here. So here's my Divi one. Here's the new rule I entered. We see those there. Then here's one that's interesting. It says current state of WordPress theme was sent to current state of WordPress themes analysis and recommendations. So I had an incoming URL that was incomplete, and it got this automatic 404 correction fix feature sent the visitor to the correct page. If we go look on the front of the website, This is that article, Current State of WordPress Themes. And you can see I used an M dash in the title, and apparently some search engines or browsers or something, when they grab the link, it cut off the rest of the title of the URL. And normally when the user just typed that first part of the URL in, of the slug in, they would get a 404 page and not found. But the 301 Redirects Pro plugin, that fix feature, basically saved the day for me because it automatically redirected the people to the correct page. So that's a nice feature, and I can see that working. And here's another one that's the same. Okay, so that's the redirect log. Let's take a look at the 404 log report. Very similar. We have the countries, the browsers, the devices. We have one mobile, 99 desktop. And we have the traffic type, where it's coming from. And then here now we're seeing some things like vendor PHP unit, XML file. I don't have that installed here. File uploader. I don't have an uploader, file uploader. Vuln PHP, upload file, a web player. So these are obviously hacking attempts that are being caught in the 404 log. And if we look here, I've got 8 pages so far on that. So the purpose of this 404 log is so you can go through and check for broken links. But what's happening here is it's catching a lot of hacking attempts, and that probably makes it a little harder to use the 404 log. You're going to have to look through a lot of pages in order to find any broken links that exist. So I imagine this feature is probably most useful after you first make a change to monitor to see what broken links appear. When there is a 404 error, if it's valid, you can click the button right here and go into that pop-up to create a redirect rule for it. So that's easy. You don't have to try to remember what this is or copy it. You can just click to create a redirect rule. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have here on the interface on the website. Next, let's go look at the web dashboard for 301 Redirects Pro. Okay, so here I've come to the 301 Redirects website, and here it lists some of the features which we've gone over. But one thing I wanted to show you is that there are different types of packages. So, for example, a one website package does not come with a license manager or white label, whereas packages supporting more than one site do come with a license manager, and the agency package comes with a white label mode. So when you purchase the Pro version, you get access to a web dashboard, and I've logged into that here. And this is the first screen here is a welcome screen with links to some of these areas. And if you want to get started right away, you just need to install the plugin and get it up and running. You can click here to download it, and then here's the license key. You can copy that to use on the site. But I think you'll want to look at some of these other features, especially if you have the team or agency package. If you click here, it'll download the latest version of the plugin. This link here shows your purchase history. Then this is an interesting area here. This shows your licenses, and when you purchase the Pro plugin, it automatically creates a license for you that you can use. But there's also a link here to this license manager. And what this allows you to do is you can set the type of license where you're entering a software key, or you can create a license per domain. And the value of this is then you don't have to give someone your license for the whole plugin or enter it on the domain. You can create an individual license just for the one domain. And when you create a domain license, then it can be keyless, and you don't have to enter a license key for it. So when you create a license with a license manager, you can say how many sites can be active, how long the license is active for, and if it includes any extra features such as white label. So that's a real nice feature for freelancers and agencies. Then there's an area here for brands, and it has a sample brand here for you. And you can edit that or create a new brand. So basically, this is the white label. You fill out this information like the plugin name that you want it to use, the website for the plugin, the company, your color, your logo for it, and other information. And then you can apply that to the plugin to white label your site by attaching it to different licenses. So this is a nice white label feature that you set up in the dashboard. Then there's a Sites tab, and here are my two sites that I've installed this on, the test site, local test site, and then the WebTNG website. Here you can block the site, so you can basically disable the site. There are remote actions where you can sync and validate the license. You can sync the stats or sync the logs. Here's where you would view the logs. And then here's where you can generate a PDF report. And so if you were an agency or a freelancer and you wanted to send the report to the client, you could download it here. So let's take a look and see what one looks like. You can see here's monthly report for WebTNG. And it's basically the kind of information that we have on the dashboard. So that's a very nice feature. If you remember when we went through the settings, there was the option to upload the logs. So you could go into your sites and sync them and have the logs uploaded here. You can see you can choose which site the logs are for. Currently it's for all sites. So you could use this here if you were managing multiple sites and you didn't want to log into each one individually. And it has a search option here if you want to look through for certain things. Then there's a place here for your user profile where you change your password. This is a link to the documentation, and this is the link to support. So this is the 301 Redirects Pro dashboard. So that's the walkthrough. Now for the discussion and conclusions. There were a few minor things I saw where I think there could be improvement. First, on the pop-up where you create a redirect, I think that the light gray on white is difficult to read. Also, there could be more and clearer instructions on the side panel. I don't think this interface needs to be treated as if its space is limited. There could be links and tooltips here for information and help. Second, a nice feature of the free version was the URL lookup, which saves typing in the destination URL. For some reason, that hasn't been included yet in the Pro version. Third, the cloaking type of redirect is interesting, but I haven't seen that used much where the site URL stays the same, but the content of the page is the redirected content. That could be useful, but I'm not sure how to use that. Fourth, the 404 logs contain lots of records for hacking attempts. The idea with the 404 report is that you can look through it to find broken links. However, if you're wading through all of the hacking attempts, then that becomes more difficult. I'm not sure there's much that can really be done about this, and some people might want to see all of the data. But it makes me feel like the 404 reports are probably the most useful when you first make a change and you're watching for links that you may have overlooked. There are lots of things that I liked about 301 Redirect Pro. The setup wizard was a nice way to get started, and with it we handled most of the needed settings. The ability to verify a redirect is nice, and it makes it easy to check that you've entered the values correctly. As I saw from my site, the AutoFix 404 feature is very nice and can help get visitors to the correct page when there are partial links. I really like this feature. And then there's the 301 Pro dashboard. It has a number of standout features. In addition to the usual download plugin, get license, and change password functionality, you have the very flexible license manager. This is a unique Web Factory feature that will appeal to agencies and freelancers. The branding or white labeling feature looks to be easy to use, and it's nice that you can set it up on a central dashboard and apply it per license. The ability to download PDF reports is nice, and is another feature that will appeal to agency owners and freelancers. And then the central reporting area for viewing the redirect and 404 logs is convenient for people managing multiple sites. I think most of the items that can be improved are rather minor, and there are several features such as the autofix, license manager, and white label implementation that make 301 Redirect Pro a standout choice. So that's my walkthrough and review of 301 Redirect Pro. There's a text version of this video available on the WebTNG website, along with other tutorials, walkthroughs, and resources. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching.